Hello, today's video is on the valve removal of a CVH, Ford CVH engine, cylinder head pretty much. But anyhow, this is a 1.6 head. First thing you need to do is remove the rockers, and that involves removing these nuts on the rocker studs. Not all engines will have these studs. Most 1.6s will have the studs. All 1.9s should have just a rocker bolt. So a bolt that runs down through here instead of a stud, and not designed like this. I'm not too snuffed up with the European models to know how those vary and differ. So as far as North American models go, you'll either see this or a rocker bolt that runs in through the casting. I'm not sure which is better. I don't have much experience with either, but anyhow, back to the removal. Once you get these two rockers off, you have full access to these two valves. Now you need to have your cylinder off the engine to remove the valves, obviously. So obviously you have to take the head off to compress the valves. And there's two ways to compress the valves. You can get a special piece that threads into this rocker stud that replaces the rocker arm, that as you screw it in, the arm will push down on this spring and retainer. Will compress that so you can sneak in with a magnet and pull out the two-piece retainer inside there. And they're cup shaped, so they'll just come right out with a magnet. If you don't have the special tool, you can use an automotive style valve spring compressor, as long as it is big enough. And there is only one way to use these. This end will go onto your valve, this end will go on the retainer. You have to put on here as such. It has to be in this orientation. So the open claw end here will be compressing the spring. And you need to make sure that you have these two drawn together enough that they're not getting caught on this casting here, because it is quite narrow between the the head casting here and the valve spring assembly. So you need to make sure that this is not contacting any of this, and if it is, you can easily manipulate with your hand by just moving the entire tool. And then on the other end, of course, you have what will compress up against the head of the valve, this right here. Now my tool is not long enough, so I cannot demonstrate this well. I actually used a different tool. But once you get this up against the valve, you just pull this lever, compress it all. And it has to be done at this angle. And all of your rockers have to be off, or they'll be in the way like this one is for me right now. But anyways, it has to be in this location. You will not be able to compress the spring with this arm going over the center of the stud. It cannot be done. And approaching it at this angle will not work either, as the stud is still in the way. So the only way to do it for the exhaust side is this angle. The only way to do it for the intake side is, this opposite angle. You do it just like this. So the one goes down and the one goes up, and every single intake spring will be in this orientation. Every single exhaust spring will be in the other orientation. And, you know, same procedure, you just put the cup on the head of the valve and you'll compress it. I found that the best way to do this is to stand the head up on end like I have here, because you'll have full access to each of the valves on both sides, being that to do the exhaust side, you'll be angled down like this. You'll have to flip the head over so that is sitting on the pulley side of the head instead of the distributor side. So to safely do that, you need to remove your camshaft. I'll have a different video on that coming up soon here, as I'm working on a 1.9 at school currently. So again, keep an eye out for that. But remove the camshaft, flop it over on the other side, and then carry on with the other four, because you'll only be able to do you'll be able to do 4 to 6 on each side before you have to flip it. So no matter what you do, there will always be at least one rocker that you can't reach. So again, just flip the block like I originally started with and just do the other end. Handing this off a table to do it's not a good idea, because with this being a hemispherical head, the way these valves are angled, it's really hard to get a compressor under there without the valve striking whatever it's handing off of, a table, bench, or whatever. And then you still have to fight the weight of this thing. Once you put the center of weight right here, it will start wanting to tip. Same if you put it over here. So that center line anywhere between here, your head's going to fall. Which means you can't compress all the springs, no matter what you do. Spinning at 90 degrees won't benefit you. I've tried it. Believe it or not, just makes things worse. So, like I said, easiest way is just set it up on end, take care of it. And then when you're done, of course, reassemble everything exactly the way you found it. Use assembly lube if things are dry. So here it's real simple. All I had to do was, or all I did to show you was just these two rockers. So toss them back on. We'll assume that the cam that I theoretically pulled off, I theoretically put back on, or hypothetically, I mean. So follow the other rockers. The only way to compress these springs with the head still on for whatever reason, I'm assuming you need to replace the valve seals, the valve stem seals. If you need to replace those for any reason, with the head still on the engine, you will need the special tool I mentioned. So you replace a rocker arm, and you replace it with that special tool that screw in place of the rocker arm in it. As you turn the nut in the center, it compresses the spring. I'm told it also works on the 1.9s, the rocker bolt heads instead of the rocker stud heads. This one is studded. But I have not tried it because I do not have the special tool. So anyway, that's rockers for this video. If you couldn't tell, it's kind of cold in the shop right now, and it's kind of late, so it's kind of quiet. Anyhow, have a good evening, everybody. Hope this helped you some. Look forward to more videos on the CVH coming soon. Thanks, guys.